once you've got detail added to your story, which basically gives you the beats of your film. The beats of your film are basically the scenes that are going to take place in your film. What you want to do now is try and put some flesh on the bones. You know, now you have the bones, you have the skeleton of your story ready to go. You got to start adding some meat to it.
The best way for me in breaking a story down into scenes is laying out what scenes I feel like are in the movie, or what story beats are in the movie, which essentially will become scenes. The writer will just kind of write down the beats, kind of just brainstorming. What do we want to see in this movie?
And a lot of writers will do this on 3x5 cards. It's a 3x5 card exercise. You know, you put all of your scenes on a 3x5 card with some detail about what happens in that scene. And then you start moving those scenes around and seeing how they play against each other. What does it do to the story if I move the ending to the front, or the front to the ending? What happens to these things? If I introduce this character later, what happens?
This happens in development, and it also happens in post-production, where things aren't working the way that you had established the beats in the beginning, and you kind of move those beats around again, and you move those scenes around. But in development, you really are essentially getting your thoughts out on paper.
And it's going to help you a lot when you sit down and start writing your screenplay. You're going to have a very, very good understanding of what happens in this scene and how it moves the characters forward. So you need to go through each of your scenes, look at those scenes and say to yourself, and again, writing a screenplay is nothing more than just asking questions. The difficult part is knowing what questions to ask. So as you go through the beats of your film, ask yourself those questions. What happens in this film, or what happens in this scene? How does it change the characters? And how does it move the story forward? How does it change the characters and move them forward in the story? One of the most boring things to watch is a character who's not doing anything. You know, you want your characters to be proactive. What are they doing in this story to drive the story forward? Something's got to happen. And every scene should have something that happens in it that moves the story, that guides the audience through this story and gets them to the place where you want them to end.
We knew that we wanted a guy to take a picture of what, you know, was essentially going to be bin Laden. And we knew that he was going to be interrogated to try and get some information. We knew he'd be leveraged to get some more information, that he'd have to have some friends that would help him, you know, find out where bin Laden was. And so we just kind of wrote down these different elements that we wanted in the script, which essentially become beats.
The actual story took place all over the place. It was everywhere. It was on different continents. It was all over the place. We did want that feel, that tone, so we actually, the start of the film takes place in the snow in New York City. The next place is Turkey, and then the final place is Afghanistan. We were attempting to take a large film that had a lot of story and smash it down into a 12-minute or 10-minute film. Not an easy task. Some of the things that you really love about the big story, you just have to let go and don't even think about them. Don't even try to incorporate them. Just let them go. Try and think about the things that you can tell. You have 10 minutes to try and get that story out as best you can, even if it's just a tone or a mood or a feel to the film that the larger film would have. You know, you want to have that kind of tone.